Go with me to Acts chapter 16. Start verse 25. The title already up there. Somebody shout, make that sound. Somebody shout, make that sound. Make that sound. Somebody shout, make that sound. Make that sound. Acts chapter 16, 25. Y'all ready? But at midnight, Paul and Silas were praying, singing hymns to God. And the prisoners were listening to them. King James said, and the prisoners heard them. Suddenly, somebody shout suddenly. Suddenly. I can stop right there. I submit to you in 2019, things going to happen. Folks going to get delivered. There's going to be breakthroughs. Just healing going to manifest. Folks going to come out of poverty. Yokes going to be destroyed. Relationship mended. Let me move on. Suddenly there was a great earthquake. I don't know how he's going to do it. So that the foundation of the prisoners, of the prison were, somebody shout, jailhouse rock. Jailhouse is a place that let me get on through this here for us. And immediately, so suddenly and immediately, can I say something right here? In this year, when God tell you to do something, do it immediately and suddenly. Let me move on. All the doors were open and everyone's chains were loose. And the keeper of the prison, awaking from sleep and seeing the prison doors open, supposing the prisoner had fled, drew his sword and was about to kill himself. But Paul called with a loud voice. I want to make sure you hear me. He that has, let him hear. So he cried with a loud voice, saying, do yourself no harm. Look at your neighbor and say, do yourself no harm. What if I told you that most of your trouble was coming from you? Self-destructing. Cause you got a little pressure. Because somebody said they didn't like you. Do thyself no harm. We'll talk about that. He says, saying, do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Then he called for a light, hallelujah, ran in, and fell down trembling before Paul and Silas, and he brought them out and said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? So they said, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will be saved. You and your household. Come on with it, God. Then they spoke the word of the Lord to him and to all who were in his house. Hallelujah. And he took them the same hour of that night and washed their stripes. And again, immediately, he and all the family were. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Let's do it now. Now, delay causes trouble. We got to move now. Folks get killed and die in delay. Vision are crushed in delay. And it says, now when he had brought them into his house, he set food before them, and he rejoiced, having believed in God with all his household. The prisoner keeper became a servant to the prison. I want to use for a subject, main subject is make that sound, with a subtitle of coming after me. Y'all might be seated in front of the Lord. So I got about 5, 6 books I need to talk to you about here. We start with book 1. The Christian life, or following Christ. There will be trouble. It can be carefree, but not trouble-free. See, Paul the Apostle, he understood this, and he writes in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, he says, cast your cares upon him, for he cares for you. But Jesus says that in this life you will have trouble. There will be persecution. There will be prosecution, and there will be false imprisonment. There will be the storms of life, antagonism, criticisms. There will be conflict, and there will be trouble. But all of those are opportunities. Let me say that again. All of those are opportunities for God to arise and demonstrate his power. See, don't get so caught up looking at the trials and troubles of your life that you miss the opportunity for God to come in on the scene. Seek first. When you get in trouble, seek first. When things are going well, seek first. Always keep God as the center of your affection. And you will begin to understand that conflict is necessary for growth. The problem many Christians get is when conflict happens, they begin to fail to assemble themselves. Stop running from conflict. All of my growth came out of conflict. See, when you begin to run from conflict, you stop your growth. Every trial God can make work for your good if you stay in the fight, even though you don't have to fight. Just stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Y'all ain't with me. So, do you not know that conflict put Christ on the cross? It was the Spirit that released the blood that redeemed us. Conflict pierces and releases stuff. Running from release. There's so many Christians who are out in their home today complaining about church folks. As long as you're complaining, you're not growing. Growth pulls you out of complaints. So don't miss your opportunity. Here is Paul and Silas. They were on their way to prayer. And they began to be harassed by a woman who's demon possessed, who has a spirit she has what the Bible calls what kind of spirit? Nobody reading. She has a spirit of a python. She has a divination spirit. She has a kind of a snake type of fortune telling and soothsaying spirit. And she is bothering Paul, Silas, and Luke, because Luke was there too. I often wonder why Luke didn't go to jail. Why didn't they beat him? How Luke get away? He recording because he said that they were harassing us, which means I was there too. And so the spirit that is upon her is allowing her to be a fortune teller or to tell others about their future. And her masters are getting paid because of her misfortune. Y'all with me? See, when Paul and Silas are going day after day to the house of prayer to pray, this woman is following them and harassing them. The Bible says she did this for many days. And Paul and Silas, they go to the house of prayer, pray, leave, go back to Lydia's house, and she following them, harassing them. And they're not saying a word. Y'all with me? And Paul is getting a little frustrated by this. She's saying, these men are servants of the Most High God. Now, she's a slave girl to her master. She's calling Paul them a servant. So she recognized there's two masters. And she's speaking the truth. But everybody, you don't need to speak on your behalf because of what they're in. Sometimes people try to align with you because of your credibility. They try to connect with you because of your resources. And see, how long are you going to let that spirit follow you? The spirit of your past. How long? Everywhere you go, right behind you. You ain't gonna say nothing. You ain't gonna do nothing. You gonna allow this spirit to harass you? See, the Bible said Paul became greatly annoyed. He was agitated. He was angered by this spirit. He could have cast the spirit out the first time. Have you ever been in a situation that you tolerated some stuff long until you just got, you know, your last nerve, then got on that last, that straw that they said broke the camel's back, and said, Paul, turn. Paul, he recognized and he turned on it. You're not going to follow me any longer. I'm not going to be harassed by you. I have power and authority in Jesus Christ. I don't have to stand for this. He turned on it. And he carried on a long conversation. He ain't reason. He ain't plead. He said, come out. He spoke to the spirit. How many of us speaking to the people? And the spirit said, as long as you're speaking to them, you ain't talking to me. In Matthew chapter 16, 22. See, in Matthew chapter 16, Peter said, thou art the Christ, Son of the living God. And God said, and Jesus said to him, flesh and blood have not revealed this unto you, but my Father who is in heaven. Blessed is thou, Simon Barjona. And upon this rock, I'll build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. In verse 22, he says, get behind me, Satan. Because you can get a revelation from God one moment and the devil the next. That's why Paul said, walk in the spirit. So you know who's talking to you. And you know who's working through you. Y'all with me? We'll get there. We're still on page 1. So Paul turns on this spirit, casts this spirit out, frees, he freed, somebody said free. She was free from the spirit that has caused her to be a slave. She was delivered. And when she got delivered, everything that was connected to her broke hold. She can no longer be used when you get free. See, oh my God, you can't be used when you're free. They were profiting off of her misfortune. Watch this. Truth be told, that's how our society is set up. Our whole society is set up for people to profit off of your misfortune. You don't believe me? Have a family member die. She want the funeral home be right there. What kind of casket do you want? We got this one right here in red, this one in green, this one right here won't leak. Who cares if it leaks? What is it gonna do? But profiting gonna sell you a more expensive one, cause playing on your sympathy. So you don't want your loved one, let no water get in there. What is it gonna matter? They're not there. Oh my goodness. Our society is set up to profit off of each other's misfortune. So he broke the food chain. Somebody said, break it. If you break the food chain, all those people that have been hanging around you only because you provide something. So he broke it. Watch this. Put up Acts chapter 16. The next slide. 16, 22. 16, 20. So they brought them to the magistrate and said, these men, being Jews, exceedingly what? Trouble our city, right? And they teach customs which are not lawful for us, being Romans, to what? Receive or observe. So then the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrate tore their clothes and commanded them to be beaten with rods. And not only that, and when they had laid many stripes on them, they did what? They threw them into prison, commanded the jailer to keep them securely. Having received such a charge, he put them in the inner prison and fastened their feet in what? Stocks. Because they freed this woman, broke their food chain, teaching customs that are not lawful for Romans to receive or to observe. They were so upset with them for breaking the food chain that they beat them with many stripes, threw them in the prison with the most severe criminals. In the dungeon, cold, wet, locked down, locked in, and locked up. In the stocks, what they would do, they'll put your feet in the stock and they'll spread them apart. So the stocks will bring bruises and stuff on your ankles. And you'll be in pain. You'll be in misery. Let me ask you something. Can you praise when you're in pain? Can you praise when you're in misery? What do you do when you're in pain? What do you do when you're in misery? Paul and Silas, you remember, right? They was going to do what? Pray. Y'all missed it. Missed it just that fast. I told you I'm running fast, having suddenly, having quick. They were going to do what? Pray. Y'all still don't get it. Still don't get it. And they go through all of this while going to pray. But all of that didn't stop. Why folks stop? God has consolation. Paul, his name means small or humble, modest in Latin. Silas' name is Silvanus. In Greek, is the Greek form of Paul, which means pray for or ask for prayer. Together, it means humbly asking for prayer or humbly praying. Y'all ain't with me. So what they started out to do, just because they went through, they still did what they started to do. Okay, let me say it this way. No trouble, however grievous, should hinder your praise. The problem that many Christians have is trouble hinders or stop them from coming, or stop them from praising, or stop them from assembling. And every problem, God is the answer. For every problem. How many of you have a problem? God is the answer. And never let your problem You never place your problem over your answer. You never make your problem bigger than your answer. Y'all getting it? Little problem, he has the answer. Medium, he has the answer. Huge, he has the answer. There is a name. So I want you to know this, is that while they were in pain, they praised and sing praises to the Lord. See, there is what you have to understand is that praise, prayer, and faith is a 3-chord string that's not easily broken. When you put them together, not easily broken. Now, this is what gets me. See, while they were praying, while they were praising, in the condition that they're in prison, they're in their inner prison, they're locked down, they're cold and wet, and they have other people in the prison with them. And they begin to make a sound that was heard by the other prisoners. That's an evangelism moment. When you can be in a condition, in the same condition that somebody else is in, but yet you behave differently. You begin to make a sound in that situation that they can hear. Not only could they hear it, but God heard it. Your neighbor said, I got to make that sound. See, when you make that sound, God come in. That's why when I was coming up and preaching, and what would happen was the preachers would get in the office, and the congregation would be out starting praise and worship. And then we'll line up just about when praise and worship was over, and we'll come through. And they'll stand up, and we'll come down through the aisle. And we wasn't there when they started the fire. We're coming in cold. We weren't there when they sent the invitation. How can it that we can't get a breakthrough because we were not there when he came in? If he inhabits the praises of his people, he can come in and do a work in praise and worship that he'll never do in preaching. Do you know what I know is arrogant? For us to parade ourselves down through. He's God. They got to stop worshiping God and start worshiping us. Y'all don't hear me. Look, what the moral story? Don't miss praise and worship. Because suddenly, when they begin to make the sound, and he who inhabits the praises of his people broke sound barriers, broke chains, broke shackles, and broke cycles. When he came in, your situation and circumstance are just opportunities for him to come in. If you can make the right sound, if you could play the 3 chords, There is a sound that God needs to hear. There's a sound that the world needs to hear, so much that Jesus said, when we become one, the world will know that God has sent him. There is a sound that invites God to come in. And this year, we must make the sound. The movement must make the sound in the earth. Is there anybody here who's going to help me make that sound? Suddenly. It means without warning, without notice. Oh my goodness. You or nobody was expecting it. And then he showed up. It's done quickly, expediently. It occurs without transition. Glory be to God. It's rash. Praise will break you out. Praise will break you through. And praise will break you in. So, they praised and prayed. And he who break chains came in. And he who destroys yokes came in. He who destroys the chains that bind us came in. He who destroys the cycles and the generational curses came in. He who opened doors came in. He who opened prisons came in. He was coming after me. God will always, when you call him, and you call him using those three chords, he will come into your situation. I guarantee he used to breaking folks out. He broke out his apostles. He broke out Peter out of jail. He broke Daniel out of the lion's mouth. He broke the Hebrew boys out of the fire. God knows how to break you out. Do you know how to get him in? So, it says, Apostle, he freed folks. He has a history of freeing folks. Psalm 46 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will we not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountain be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountain shake with its swelling, Selah. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She should not be moved. He'll come in the midst of it. God shall help her, just as the break of dawn. God will break in at the break of dawn. He freed them at night. Y'all missed it. He freed them. He freed Peter and John out of jail at night. He got Peter, he smoked him on the side, got him up at night. That's why when he smoked you, when you're in the bed, get up. at night. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah, come, behold the work of the Lord, who has made desolation in the earth. He makes war cease, the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cut the spear in two. He burned the chariot in fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will exalt among the nations. I will exalt in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. Suddenly, instantly, quickly, without warning, you can be free suddenly. You can be delivered suddenly. You can be saved suddenly. You can be healed suddenly. My house can be sold suddenly. Put up Acts chapter 2. God is going to, in 2019, he's doing a quick work. And he's doing a great work. It's a quick work and it's a great work. And when the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all what? With one accord in one place. And suddenly came somebody shall make that sound. I need a sudden sound from heaven. I'm going to make a sudden sound from earth. I need a sudden sound from heaven. And when that sound from heaven, it was as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled what? The whole house where they. If you get in trouble and you call on God with a sincere heart, with a contrite and God will come in. And when he comes in, it's to get you out. Watch this. He came in. The jailhouse rocked. Chains broke. Doors came open. And not only were Paul and Silas free, but all of the prisoners were free. And I'm cutting across now. The jailer awakened, drew his sword, and was about to take his own life because he knew that the commanders would take his life if they found out that he let the ones that they told him to make sure they would, he says, secure him, was gone. But Paul discerned what the jailer was going to do. And he cried with a loud voice, do thyself no harm. They've done harm to Paul. Teach a moment. Just because people hurt you don't mean that you're supposed to hurt them. Or stand by and watch them hurt themselves because of you. He said, do thyself. Can I be true with you? Don't, I don't care if folks beat the body, take all of your materials. They can't take your victory in Jesus. And the only real harm that can be done to you, you have to do yourself. Yeah, I missed that thing. The only harm that can be done to you, you have to do it. You're the only one that could commit sin. Sin is the only harm that can be done to you because that's an eternal type of harm. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? So don't get so caught up in what people do. Be more mindful of what you're doing. What shall separate me from the love of God? There's a sound. And I'm going to cut across here. Put up the next slide. I didn't go to 2 Chronicles chapter 5 because they made a sound and God came in. Where the preacher couldn't stand to minister because they made a sound. There's a certain sound that God is looking for in 2019. And we got to make it. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God. God's going to make a sound. When Gabriel blow the trumpet, there's going to be a sound that even the dead in Christ is going to hear. And those who remain alive at the time he blew the trumpet, they're going to be caught up because they heard the sound. Not those that don't hear the sound, but those who have an ear to hear. And whose ears have been tuned to hear the sound. For us is whose microphone has been tuned to make a sound. When he cracks the sky with a sound. Coming after you. So the songwriter says there's no mountain he won't climb up. No wall he won't kick down. No lie he won't coming. I fear for who's holding you when you cry out. Sometimes I look at folks who bother me and I say, if you only knew how much trouble you in. Because when you mess with me, oh my goodness. Don't make me call him. Don't make me make a sound when they're here. I submit to you today, this year in 2019. If you stick with me, we're going to make a sound. And there's going to be some people loose. And folks going to step out of their graves of their, whoever connected to you going to get loose because of the sound. Everything's going to be made new because of the sound. Old things going to pass away because the sound. There are some sounds that you can't hear, but dogs can. Because their ears are so sensitive to. God is making us sensitive. He's fine-tuning our strings. We're standing.